Breath of the Wild is one of the best games ever, and as Legend of Zelda fans, we are hoping that the sequel is gonna top the last one. Well, recently we passed the longest amount of time waiting between mainline Legend of Zelda entries in the franchise, having recently passed 5 years, 5 months and the 15-day mark. Now that is a new record. Well, today I want to talk about the gap between Legend of Zelda games, have a look at why the game might be taking so long, and also reasons to be optimistic. Well, if you're new around here or find this useful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for all the latest Zelda content and turn on notifications by hitting that bell. Well, before we get into the video today, let me know in the comments when you think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to release. Does that mean it's going to release in March? Or does that mean it's going to release in June? Or do you think it's going to be delayed again or brought forward like Xenoblade Chronicles 3? Now share your thoughts related to the Breath of the Wild 2 release date down there in the comments. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild went down as many people's Game of the Year back in 2017, plus also some rate it as their favourite game of all time. And while that game is great, we have now passed the longest wait for a new mainline Zelda game. So to clarify new, that means not remakes or remasters like Link's Awakening or Skyward Sword. Well, the previous longest gap between the Legend of Zelda games goes to Link's Awakening, originally released on the Game Boy in 1993, all the way up to Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, released on the N64 in 1998. Well, the Twitter account Bombo's Medallion pointed this out, saying it was 5 years, 5 months, and 22 days between those two titles. Well, this unfortunate record is set to continue, given the sequel to Breath of the Wild is set for an ambiguous release date of spring 2023. Now, spring is sometime between Monday the 20th of March to Wednesday the 21st of June, so optimistically we could be getting the game in March 2023, or pessimistically we could be getting the game in June. Looking at it very pessimistically, the game could even get delayed again. I don't want it to happen, but we should be ready for that announcement. Well, Bombo's Medallion on Twitter also pointed out the gap between the other Legend of Zelda games and noted the gap got bigger with every entry. So between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, that was 523 days. That's 1 year, 5 months and 7 days. Majora's Mask to Wind Waker, that was 960 days. 2 years, 7 months and 18 days. Then you got Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. That's 1437 days. 3 years, 11 months, 7 days. So Twilight Princess to Skyward Sword, well, that was 1825 days. That's 4 years, 11 months and 30 days. Then Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, that was 1932 days. That's 5 years, 3 months and 16 days. And then we've got Breath of the Wild until today. That is just shy of 2,000 days, 1,999 days, 5 years, 5 months and 22 days. So if this continues, we're not likely to see the next mainline Zelda game after the Breath of the Wild 2 sequel until approximately 2029. So savour these moments in the build-up to Breath of the Wild 2, because the next one after that might be a few years' wait. Well, it's even been 147 days since we last had official news related to Breath of the Wild 2, when IG Aonuma came out and spoke to us about the delay, whilst also delivering a tiny snippet of new information with a close-up shot of Link looking at that broken Master Sword. Well, it's also been 3 years, 2 months and 14 days since we found out that Breath of the Wild 2 was in development. And in that time, we've had 3 very short trailers. So E3 2019, that was 1 minute and 26 seconds. E3 2021, that was 1 minute and 39 seconds. And then we had the delay trailer in 2022, that was 1 minute and 31 seconds. So that's a total, I think, of 4 minutes and 36 seconds. And quite a lot of that time has been taken up with shots of Hyrule. So come on Nintendo, we Zelda YouTubers are absolutely starving. There's only so many videos that we can squeeze out of 4 minutes and 36 seconds of footage. Well, IG Aonuma spoke to us in the delayed trailer for March 2023 first, apologising Breath of the Wild 2 was going to be delayed, but then gave us some details as to why it may be taking a long time. So Aonuma says the adventure in this sequel will take place not just on the ground as in the previous games, but also in the skies above. However, the expanded world goes beyond that, and there'll be a wider variety of features that you can enjoy, including new encounters and new gameplay elements. In order to make this game's experience something special, the entire development team is continuing to work diligently on the game so please wait a while longer. So there's definitely a few interesting points in the words that Aonuma says there. So Aonuma says the game is going to take place on the ground and in the skies, and we've discussed before the potential for in-flight fighting mechanics related to some of the patents regarding gameplay. However, Aonuma says the expanded world goes beyond that, so beyond the land and the sky. And what does that mean? I guess it could mean underwater or maybe underground, given we've seen Link and Zelda travelling underground in that first trailer. Well, you may be asking yourself, Nintendo, why is it taking so long? Just work harder. Well, COVID has been with us since March 2022. There was a massive impact on everyone all around the globe. So specifically game development, that is a very collaborative art, and Japan also had very strict lockdown rules in place. So while we can work with communication tools like Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Miro and other collaboration tools, the switch from office to home definitely had a massive impact. And while we didn't see much of an impact in 2020 or even 2021, so we've been seeing many games in 2022 get delayed, given the amount of time it takes to develop games. I would imagine we're going to see even more delays going into 2023 and also 2024. So while we are now in a record-breaking territory concerning the amount of time waiting for the next Zelda entry, I do think there are reasons to be happy and hopeful and definitely optimistic. The team developing Breath of the Wild 2 are likely to be many of the team that brought us Breath of the Wild, one of the best games ever made. Nintendo knows this, and they are pouring their heart and soul into the game. I would much rather Nintendo work on the game until it's ready, rather than release the game early and it not be ready at all. There's so many examples of games like Cyberpunk 2077, the recent Saints Row, Anthem, Fallout 76, the list just goes on. These games aren't remembered for the state they eventually get to, they are remembered for their disastrous releases. So while I don't enjoy waiting for Breath of the Wild 2, I would much rather Nintendo work on the game until they think it is ready and get that Nintendo quality seal of approval and release it when the time is right. Plus, while we're waiting for Breath of the Wild 2, there's so many great games in the back catalogue of the Zelda franchise to check out. More than ever, they are accessible via Nintendo Switch Online or as Switch games in their own right. And while I'm talking about the previous Zelda games, I want to shout out the Zelda Game Club as part of Triforce Times, where we go back and play through classic games of the Zelda series. We recently played through Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, and next up, we've got A Link to the Past. Well, let me know in the comments what you think about waiting for Breath of the Wild 2, and let me know when you think it's going to release. Well, that is it for this look at the numbers behind the longest wait for a Zelda sequel ever with Breath of the Wild 2. And as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. For more Legend of Zelda content like this, hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to Triforce Times. Or you can check me out on Twitter at Triforce Times. Well, if you enjoyed this video, found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.